Debt is exploding. Currencies are being created faster than ever, and the rules are being changed quietly. The dangerous part, it doesn't look like a crisis. It looks like normal life. And that's when people get caught out, because by the time it feels serious, the adjustment has already happened. Now here's the real question you need to ask. What exactly is the money in your bank actually backed by? Your money isn't money. Most people think money is something solid, something real. But what's in your bank account isn't backed by gold. It's not backed by silver. It's not backed by anything physical at all. It's backed by confidence. Confidence that the system keeps working. Confidence that the numbers on the screen will still buy what they bought yesterday and today. And when the confidence cracks, currencies don't slowly fade. They adjust, quietly at first, then suddenly. The real question isn't what is your gold worth? The real question is, what is your currency losing? And that's where the debt story begins. If I told you the real debt number, your brain would switch off. That's the problem. The numbers are that big, they stop feeling real. Trillions here, trillions there, and another few trillion. Eventually, people stop reacting. But debt isn't just numbers on a website. It represents future promises. Promises to pay pensions, promises to fund services, and promises to cover interest. And here's the uncomfortable part. That debt will never be paid back in real terms. It can't be. The only way out is to change the value of the money used to measure it. And that's where inflation enters the picture. Now, if you were drowning in debt, would you work harder or change the rules? That's the choice governments face. When debt becomes too large to realistically repay, there are a number of few options. You cut spending sharply, raise taxes heavily, or quietly reduce the value of money itself. Cutting spending is painful, raising taxes is unpopular, but printing is far easier. Not dramatic printing presses in the streets, I'm talking about digital creation. Numbers added to the balance sheets, new currency issued, more money chasing the same goods. And when more money chases the same goods, prices don't stay the same, they rise. Not because shop owners are greedy, and not because farmers suddenly got expensive, because the measuring stick, the currency, has been stretched. That leads to something most people misunderstand. Inflation isn't random, it's policy. And that's where things start to matter for ordinary savers. Now, inflation isn't bad luck, it's design. Most people think prices just rise, like the weather changing, like it's nobody's fault. But when you increase the supply of something, whether it's apples or money, the value of each unit falls. It's simple maths. If there are twice as many pounds in circulation, but the same number of houses, cars and food, those pounds buy less. That's inflation. It doesn't need to be 50% overnight to hurt you. 3% here, 5% there. Year after year, quiet erosion. You don't feel it first of all, you feel it over time. Your weekly shop creeps up. Energy bills rise, services cost more, and your savings still stay the same. Because if your money stands still, prices move, you move backwards. And that leads to something most people never calculate properly. What are your savings actually doing? Now, you can do everything right and you can still lose. You work hard, you save consistently, and you avoid debt. And yet, over time, your money buys less. Not because you failed, because the measuring stick has changed. If inflation runs at 5% and your savings earn 2%, you're not stable. You're losing 3% every year. And that doesn't sound dramatic, but stretched out over 10 years, the purchasing power fades quietly. You still see the same number in your account, but that number does less work. This is why I always say gold doesn't grow, it protects. And that's a very different mindset. Now, if you're buying gold to get rich quickly, you're buying it for the wrong reason. Gold isn't exciting. It doesn't produce dividends. It doesn't send updates, and it doesn't promise growth stories. It just sits there, and that's the point. Gold doesn't depend on promises. It isn't someone else's liability. It isn't created by a keyboard. It isn't adjusted when policy changes. It simply exists. For thousands of years, through wars, currency resets and financial crises, gold has held purchasing power. Not perfectly, not every month, but across cycles. Gold doesn't beat the system, it outlasts it. Now, silver is different, and most people don't understand that. Silver isn't just cheaper gold. That's a misunderstanding that costs most people. Silver behaves differently. It has monetary history, just like gold, but also has industrial demand. It's used in electronics, solar panels, medical equipment. That means silver moves with two forces: money fear and industrial demand. When confidence drops, both metal rises, but silver tends to move faster, more volatile, more emotionally. That's why silver can feel hectic, but that volatility also means opportunity. The key difference: gold is stability, silver is leverage. And when you understand that balance, you stop guessing. Which brings us to the question most people always ask. Now, the wrong question keeps people stuck. Everyone asks, will gold go up? That's not the question. The better question: what will your currency buy next year? Because if your pound buys less food, less fuel, less property, then gold doesn't need to go up dramatically. It just needs to hold steady while currency weakens. Gold isn't racing, it's anchoring. And once you start thinking that, you stop trying to time out at the top. You start thinking about protection. And history shows something important here. Every crisis follows a pattern. And if you understand the pattern, you stop reacting emotionally. Every financial crisis looks different on the surface, but underneath it's all the same. Go back to 2008, banks were stable until they weren't. Go back to 2020, markets were strong until they weren't. Confidence is the foundation of the system, and when the confidence cracks, governments react the same way every time. They inject liquidity, they lower rates, they print. Not because they're evil, because it keeps the machine running. But every intervention has a cost. More currency in circulation, more debt extended forward, more pressure on purchasing power. The pattern is simple: crisis, printing, inflation, asset adjustment. Once you see it, you can't unsee it. And that's why the calm investor doesn't wait for headlines, because by the time it's on the news every night, the move has already started. People don't move when they should, they move when they panic. When gold is quiet, no one cares. When silver drifts sideways, nobody notices. But when it's on the front page, when news anchors are talking about record highs, when your neighbour suddenly mentions buying gold, that's when people rush in. Emotion replaces logic. They feel urgent. They fear of missing out. But the calm buyer moves before panic. They accumulate quietly. They understand cycles. They know gold isn't about chasing headlines. It's about preparing before headlines. And that requires discipline, not excitement. Which leads us to something important. This isn't about getting rich. If you're looking at gold and silver like a lottery ticket, you've missed the point. Gold and silver are not growth stocks. They're not tech startups. They don't promise explosive innovation. They are monetary anchors. They exist outside the system. When currency stretch, they adjust. When policy shifts, they don't care. When confidence wobbles, they stabilize. Over time, they preserve purchasing power. That's boring, but boring is powerful, because while others are trying to double money quickly, the disciplined investor is focused on not losing it slowly. And in long-term wealth building, avoiding loss matters more than chasing gain. After 35 years in this trade, that's the pattern I've seen repeat. Cycles don't surprise me anymore. I've seen gold ignored, I've seen it loved, I've seen it mocked, and I've seen it feared. The same conversations come back every decade. When it's low, people doubt it. When it's rising, people question it. When it's high, people panic by it. But through all this emotion swings, one thing stays consistent. Gold holds its role. Silver swings harder. Currencies adjust. And those who understand the long view stay calm. The lesson isn't prediction, it's preparation. And preparation isn't dramatic, it's steady. Which brings us to the final part. What does a calm plan actually look like? Preparation isn't dramatic, it's boring, and that's why most people never do it. A calm plan doesn't mean going all in. It doesn't mean selling everything and hiding in a bunker. It means balance. It means understanding that currency is useful, but it's not permanent. It means holding some wealth outside the system. Physical, tangible, no counterparty risk. A calm plan might mean allocating a sensible percentage into gold for stability, maybe some silver for leverage, not because you expect the world to end, but because history shows cycles always return. The real question you need to ask isn't, is gold going to explode? It's, what happens if confidence cracks again? And if that question makes you uncomfortable, that's exactly why preparation matters, because calm investors sleep well, panicked investors don't. And that leads us to the most important part. This isn't a fear message, it's a controlled message. You can't control government policy, you can't control interest rates, and you can't control global debt levels, but you can control how exposed you are to them. Gold and silver aren't magic. They won't solve every problem, and they've outlived every other paper currency in history. Empires change, systems reset, money evolves, gold remains. After 35 years in this trade, I've learned something simple. People who win long term aren't the loudest, they're the most prepared. If you want to understand how gold and silver can actually protect your purchasing power in simple terms, no jargon, you can download my free gold and silver guide below. It'll walk you through the fundamentals clearly and calmly. I'm James at Blackwell Jewelers. Thanks for watching. If you could subscribe to this channel, this will help us keep creating content that you love. Thank you very much.